It's almost 2 a.m. You know that. Your phone even knows that. It's been dimming the screen, throwing up little notifications telling you to wind down. Your eyes are doing that dry, stinging thing. Your body feels like it's sinking into the mattress. And somewhere in the back of your head, a very rational voice is saying, "Okay, that's enough, just sleep." And you ignore it. You open another video. You tap into another tab. You keep going. Most people will tell you this is a willpower issue. They'll say you're addicted to your phone, or that you have bad habits, or that you just need more discipline. Maybe you've told yourself the same thing. But here's what nobody's really talking about. You're not doing this because you're weak. You're doing this because some part of you is genuinely, deeply angry. Not screaming angry, quietly, exhaustedly angry. And that anger has nowhere to go during the day, so it waits. It waits until the house goes quiet, and your inbox stops moving, and the world finally leaves you alone. And then it surfaces and it says, "Not yet. Not yet." There's a name for this. It's called Revenge Bedtime Procrastination. The concept came out of China, where millions of workers were grinding through what's known as the 9-9-6 schedule. In at 9 a.m., out at 9 p.m., 6 days a week. These people had essentially signed their waking hours over to someone else. Their mornings belonged to the commute. Their afternoons belonged to their boss. Their evenings disappeared into dinner and collapsing on the couch. The only hours that were truly, undeniably theirs were the ones they carved out after midnight. So they took them, even at the cost of their health, even knowing they'd pay for it tomorrow. They took those hours because it was the only way to feel like a person who had a life rather than a person who just worked one. Now here's the thing. You might not work 72 hours a week, but I'd be willing to bet that your days don't feel like yours either. From the moment your alarm goes off, you're performing. You're the employee, the student, the parent, the partner, the responsible adult who replies to messages and shows up on time and keeps it together. Every hour is spoken for. Every version of yourself that shows up during the day is showing up for someone else's benefit. So when it finally gets late and the obligations drain out of the room, something shifts. The part of you that spent all day being useful, inappropriate, and on, it steps back, and what's left is just you, the actual you, not the performed version. And that part of you does not want to sleep, because sleeping means waking up, and waking up means doing all of it again. That's the core of it. Going to sleep feels like giving in. It feels like pressing fast forward on your own life straight to the next round of obligations. Staying up, even pointlessly, even just scrolling through things you don't really care about, feels like resistance, like you're holding on to the day with both hands and refusing to let it end on anyone else's terms but yours. And your brain actually rewards this. When you stay up late doing something entirely for yourself, watching something dumb, falling down a rabbit hole, playing a game you've already beaten, there's a real neurological payoff. Dopamine, a genuine hit of it. Not because the content is amazing, but because of the autonomy. Because nobody is asking you for anything. Nobody needs a response. Nobody is waiting on you. For those 2 hours, you are off the clock in every possible sense. And that feeling is intoxicating in a way that's hard to explain unless you've spent a long time never getting enough of it. That's why this pattern shows up most often in people who spend their days giving the most. High performers, parents of young kids, people who struggle to say no, caretakers, chronic overcommitters. If you've been operating in service of everyone around you from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., your brain isn't just tired, it's starving. It's been running on fumes of selflessness all day, and it needs something that belongs to it. If you never give it that during daylight hours, it will absolutely hijack your night to get it. Here's where it gets painful though, because the revenge doesn't actually work. You stay up to 2 a.m. feeling free, and then you wake up at 7 feeling destroyed. Not just tired, genuinely worse at being a person. Your emotional tolerance tanks. Small things bother you more. Your concentration is shot. The same workload that was manageable yesterday feels crushing today. And because the day is harder, you feel even less in control. You feel like you're being dragged through it, rather than moving through it with any kind of intention. So by the time night rolls around again, the need for relief is even more intense. You feel more entitled to that late night time because the day was brutal, so you take more of it, and the next day is even worse. This is the loop, and it's vicious. The very thing you're doing to feel free is the thing tightening the grip on you. You're borrowing from your future self, from the version of you who has to wake up tomorrow, and you're paying interest on that loan every single day. The freedom you feel at 1 a.m. is real, but the debt comes due every single morning. So what actually breaks this? Not sleep hygiene tips, not blue light glasses, not white noise machines. Those things might help on the margins, but they don't touch the actual problem. The actual problem is that your days don't have enough of you in them. The fix isn't about nighttime, it's about daytime. You have to start giving yourself real, guilt-free, non-productive personal time before the sun goes down. Not as a reward for finishing everything, not squeezed into a lunch break while you're also answering emails. Actual time that is yours, protected, early enough in the day that your brain registers it. Half an hour, that's genuinely all it takes to start shifting the pattern. Read something you want to read, sit somewhere you like sitting, and don't do anything useful. Play something, walk without a destination or a podcast in your ears. The activity matters less than the feeling that your life has space in it for you, not just for your responsibilities. When your brain gets that signal during the day, when it gets proof that you have agency, that your life belongs to you in some real and consistent way, the desperation at night starts to loosen. There's less to rebel against, the grip relaxes. The second thing is rebuilding your relationship with the act of going to sleep itself. Right now, sleep probably feels like a full stop, the end of everything good. You need to reframe it as a transition, not into nothing, but into the version of tomorrow where you actually feel like yourself. And you can't hard stop from stimulation straight into sleep. Your brain doesn't work like that. Build yourself a buffer, an hour before you actually want to be asleep where the day is officially closed. Not in a punishing way, make it something you actually want. A shower that's hotter than it needs to be, music that you like, something to read that has nothing to do with anything you're responsible for. The goal is to give your brain its dopamine hit, its quiet sense of indulgence and freedom, but through something that actually guides you toward rest instead of pulling you away from it. You're not eliminating the need for that feeling, you're just routing it somewhere better. Because the reason you refuse to sleep isn't that you're broken or undisciplined or glued to your phone. It's that you're starving for a life that feels like yours. It's that somewhere along the way, between all the obligations and the performing and the keeping it together, you lost the sense that your time belongs to you, and you've been trying to get it back night after night in the only window that's left. That impulse, the one that keeps you up, that's not your enemy. That's actually you fighting for yourself. The problem is just the timing and the method and the cost. So when tonight comes and the urge surfaces to keep going, to stay up just a little longer, to squeeze one more hour out of the day, pause. Ask yourself what you're actually looking for in that moment, because it's not the video, it's not the scroll, it's the feeling underneath it. And that feeling, that need to exist on your own terms, to be a person and not just a function, you deserve to actually have that. Not stolen, not borrowed, not at 2 a.m. when it costs you tomorrow. You deserve it for real. And the path there starts with sleep.